Welcome to Womanhood episode 6, MS and Menopause. MS can also stand for menopause silence because little is known of the impact of menopause on MS. Between 1980 and 2020, only 10 research studies were carried out on MS and menopause. MS and menopause. First question, what is your experience of MS and perimenopause or menopause, if at all?
I have been told that it is probably, I don't know what the word is, but I could probably be in menopause or perimenopause very soon because of HSCT and having the chemotherapy. So it's something that they're aware of and I need to highlight to the medical team when I feel symptoms of that, if I do. The last time I went for appointment with my hematologist, because it changes to hematology when you do HSCT, he said, we tested you and your estrogen is so low, it's really unlikely you'll have kids again. So if you start experiencing perimenopause, let us know, we'll give you something for it. And I said, but no one told me. I had to ask that question to get that information. And that was really strange to me because it's so important to me to have children that wouldn't you tell someone if it was unlikely and if their estrogen was so low, but they didn't. So it is something that they're now going to be looking into and it is unlikely, but thank goodness I have done IVF. So hopefully that's all that comes of this and I don't need to be worried.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
I thought I might be in perimenopause. I am aware that I am very young for that. But, you know, some people do go into it really early, don't they? So you just never know. It's not something that I don't think you can rule out. And I think it's something that I'm definitely aware of. I think I'm just standing back and just sort of keeping it like a watchwatchful
Some
eye
of the
on it.
symptoms can be quite similar to MS, can't they? I've heard.
Exactly.
Like particularly the cognitive things that start happening when you go through menopause.
Absolutely. Yeah, so there's some similarities.
Right. So do you think there's much information about MS and menopause, like you just said, like what the differences are and how they coexist? Because the things you just said about those drugs, I never knew that.
No, I didn't know.
I was going to say, I haven't really seen much about it. I feel like for myself personally, it's like, I know it's somewhere over the hill and it's coming, but I've got enough going on in my life right now that I don't want to have to think about it.
I've thought out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. You have to seek it out.
Yeah.
That information is not something that you actually just get by being a woman. You have to ask. And like I had to ask with my hematologist, what are my levels like? Am I in perimenopause? What's going on? They're waiting for you to ask those questions before they say anything, which is really difficult because if I wasn't a person that was just asking questions, I might have kept that to myself and then I never would have known. And that's not really fair. I think for us to all know what's going on is important. I can then plan for my life and plan for each situation. But if they're just keeping it to themselves, waiting, what are you going to do?
I've got a lot of people on my social media, like, especially on my Twitter, like, literally talking about it, especially older women, like, there is no information.
Yeah.
Like, in America over here, there is none. And how important that would be, because you are taking HRT. But then also the other side of that is knowing about HRT and MS would also help trans women as well, or people that are transmasculine. So you would understand hormones more. So actually everyone can kind of win if you actually put the time and like the dedication into understanding menopause. And like you said, if I'm going to go take a drug at 23 and that drug's going to kick me into perimenopause,
people don't know that.
Age is not even an issue anymore, is it really?
You need to know that. You need to know what to look for.
Yeah.
And you need to know, because we're at danger of having MS, just ignoring the symptoms of menopause because there can be a crossover. And how do we know that actually we could drastically improve our quality of life because actually this is menopause and I can be given something to help with this, but I'm just ignoring it because I don't know what to look for.
It's not just another woman's problem, is it? It's a bit more complex than that.
Yeah, the complexity of life and the complexity of being a woman. Do you think healthcare teams should be proactive in discussing menopause with women before they start experiencing menopausal symptoms? Can't get the words out. Should the discussion start at 40 or when the perimenopause begins? Or even before that?
Before that, absolutely.
I don't think it's just MS. I think all women need to know what's going on with them.
Just a heads up.
I think it's getting better. I've seen a lot more about menopause, and is it Davina McCall? I think she's done a book,
I've
and that I think she did a show as well, that like, and it's for everyone to watch, and not just women but their family as well. So you kind of do know what's coming for you, because some women, you know, breeze through it, but for some women it completely changes their life. And if you've already got a life-changing condition, you don't really need much more of a life change. So it's kind of good to be aware of it and to know what's coming.
Yeah, I think
what could be coming
with
your
the
way.
DMTs that could have pushed you into that.
I mean, who
like
knows?
HSCT could have pushed me into that. So I think that's something that people really need to be aware of. With whatever you're taking, this could happen, and I don't think we get that. Not really fair.
No, it's not fair. And like you said, considering we didn't know when MS was coming, it'd be nice to know at least a few things, you know, what to get into.
Absolutely.
That's obviously one of our concerns. But is there any other concerns we have about menopause in our relation to our journey with MS?
Can it make it worse?
Mine is literally the hot flushes, because I know temperature makes my MS go wild, and obviously I know what my mum went through the menopause with her hot flushes, like, and she doesn't have MS or anything. She just absolutely was not having straight up a good time with that. And also one of my really close friends, she's kind of just been going through it. She's like in her 50s. And I'm in my head, I'm like, I don't want to be having hot flushes, because I know that it's going to make my MS like 10 times worse. And that for me is like, no.
And also postmenopausal progression, because
I've
seen like anecdotally,
Oh, really?
MS can start progressing faster after menopause.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that
change in
either.
hormones.
Yeah, I didn't know
That would be nice to know that,
that would
when
have been
you
nice.
reach menopausal age and you're starting to go through it, what's available to you?
Yeah.
MS wise, what can you expect? What's it going to be like post-menopausal? What basically you need to have more of a clearer picture of the options that there are and what's coming your way, because I actually have no idea.
Yeah.
I've never heard any like I get, maybe it's my age, but I've never heard any MS professional.
No.
No, me neither.
No,
I've
like
never
either.
seen. I've never
Back
seen
to
anything
Aaron
like
Boster is the only person I've ever seen ever tackle that situation. In America, they are starting to there's a lot of older MS people I speak to. They're the ones championing it, and also just sharing their stories, so that we at least if the professional's not doing it, at least they're going hey, here's a heads up, this might be happening.
each other.
And this is not your MS, by the way, because we do, like you said, we get to this place where we go, is this MS?
Yeah.
Is this menopause? Is this my period?
Yeah.
Is this my mental health?
What's happening?
Now?
Yeah.
I had I was blaming something on my MS, but I just broken my toe. I was like, it's MS, it's fine. It's circulation. And I looked at it, I was like, oh my God, it's black and blue. I've actually broken it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. What is the best way to support MS's managing menopause? I know none of us are in menopause right now, but what would you want to see on your journey to help you manage it?
More communication between...
Emotional support. I feel like that's the thing that's lacking in just every single area when it comes to our care with MS.
across medical communication
Yeah.
between people that are prescribing hormones and people that are prescribing DMTs, more communication between your GP, between your consultant, between
Like a shared care plan.
more
Yeah,
holistic approach.
definitely.
Yeah, more of a holistic approach would be good as well, definitely.
And I take it we all believe there should be more research and data
1000%.
Yes.
to help us understand MS and menopause and ourselves and our futures.
Yeah. And just
How
women's
better.
bodies, full stop.
Yeah.
Hey, if everyone could understand a woman's body, all these conversations we've been having
Yeah.
about sex, pleasure, all this thing, I think we'd all live a heightened sense of life.
Yeah.
And
That'd be
including
nice.
the other people in our lives too.
Yeah, and it's
Read
about
for
helping
balance.
other people as well. You're an ambassador, you're an advocate for MS. All of us being here can be those people. I get strangers speaking to me all the time that I want to be able to answer certain things, but I'm like, I actually don't know. I'm so sorry. Someone's saying, oh, I'm sure you know. Well, I don't, actually. I don't know. And it would be nice to have all of those information so that we could give newly diagnosed people and other people that are struggling to communicate with different people. I think we're more vocal because we're here.
Yeah.
And it would be nice for the vocal people to actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. I always say this is my journey, this is my story, this is no medical information here.
Yeah.
Please do your own thing, but I will tell you how I feel, what my story was,
Yeah.
but I cannot tell you that's going to be the same thing because we're all sitting here having conversation, but every single person's internal thoughts and external thoughts are very different, depending on where you come from, what your background is, what age you are, and what you've decided you want to do on your own journey. And saying that, I'm going to go back a little bit to how common it is to get our MS symptoms and menopause symptoms mixed up, or just MS in general. What advice would you give to someone if they're going to go through the menopause or they're getting to the age when they have MS to think of in that moment? Like, what would you think would be the best thing to do? Other than, I mean, writing it down, exploring it further. But if you feel like you said, hot sweat,
I'd just do my research on everything. I think we all do, don't we?
About being an advocate, like you guys have said already, it's just about pushing with the healthcare professionals what you want, the tests that you want. Because if you don't get the tests, and we don't know anything about medicine, really. We don't know. So we can guess things, but you need a test, really.
Just remember when I was diagnosed, I was like, I want full blood work. And he was like, what do you want? I was like, literally everything. I was like, and he was like, and he was like, yeah, there's one here for something like complete. I was like, yeah, I want that as well. And he literally did. And to be fair to him, he did. But it was only because I went in and said, I want you to do this because I want to make sure that all these things are okay and all my hormones are in the right place and everything's functioning properly. But like, yeah, a lot of people, like especially women, don't feel like they can do that or have the confidence to do that. And it's like, unless you do that, like you won't get the care that you need because it's just not given to us, like, freely.
And I think it's worth making a fuss and demanding and then being told, no, everything's fine, you're not in menopause, rather than holding on to it and going through a load of shit when actually you are, because you don't want to make a fuss.
So
you know, make a fuss and be proved wrong. Prove me wrong. That's
exactly.
Because if
someone
you prove me wrong, in my mind,
you should have come to us. You should have said something. And you're like,
When I was first diagnosed, I wasn't even given a number to call. I was having relapses. I could barely speak. And I didn't even I had an MS nurse's number, but I wasn't registered, so she wouldn't even help me. I was, for like 6 months, I was completely on my own. I really didn't know what to do. I didn't even I was calling the wrong hospital because I didn't even know where I should be, you know? So even just having, we've told you have this. If you need us, here's some numbers to call, here's things to look out for, you know, you're supported. Just to know that you can leave the hospital.
And do you want it all just like NHS based, or do you want like the charities and stuff to also have information held? So when you can't get through, maybe you can call a charity.
It's a shame that we're in this position as a society, but unfortunately charities do have a big role to play.
As soon as I get something, I go on Shift.ms and put it in the search bar, because that's my first port of call, because
I love Shift.ms. Out of all the MS charities, like I was saying this the other day,
we know
it's being able to talk to and hear from other people who are living with MS.
Sometimes I think that's better than NHS. Don't you?
Yeah, and it's also it's more realistic, and it isn't like fluffed up and like danced around. And you know, when you're with like your MS nurse and she's trying to like play stuff down, with like Shift.ms, it's like you're
right. MS is a new illness. It's something that's progressing, unfortunately, in numbers, but it's something that's very modern. So our lived experiences, and you've been able to go on those places, are way more important because they're exploring and learning as we're exploring and learning. So technically, we are part of the NHS, like we are part of our own healthcare teams. And that's something we need to always remember, because I think we feel like we're not part of and we become segregated for that. But actually, like, I see myself as my neurologist for my neurologist as my neurologist, because I need to know what he knows or they know. So I've had to learn how to speak their language, which is a whole other job, by the way. Like, and when you're tired and stuff, you don't really want to be reading medical journals, but I'm having to, so that when I go into the room, I can say, well, actually, like you said, I want full blood works and I want it for this, this and this reason. And I know it's right because I've listened to these 5 other people's stories that live with MS, but I've also read this little book and it says actually that you should probably be doing that. And if you don't want to, like I said before, write it down in my notes. A little friend that, you know, told me that, and I've always appreciated that little bit of advice. And I want to thank everyone for being here. And thank you, Shift.ms, for having us here.
Thank you.
And having these conversations. Appreciate it.
MS and menopause recap. There is a big symptom overlap between MS and menopause. It can be difficult to know what to look for. Don't wait to find out what menopause looks like for you. Research and speak to your healthcare professionals now. Make a fuss and demand more. You are the leader of your healthcare team.